Hi and welcome to my PlayHouse, and today I am again at Eros here, and it's Eros ECS and it stands for Enterprise Computing Solutions. I think I forgot that one last time, so I'm learning it. But today we have a new piece of awesome equipment that we're gonna be looking at. It's a Lenovo server. No, it's not. It's 4 Lenovo servers. So out here in the technician's room, where they prepare servers for, well, a lot of the customers here in Denmark. I have gotten some boxes here on a trolley thing, and the bottom box is the D2 chassis from Lenovo. And this chassis, we're gonna have a look at it. It's a chassis that fits 4 servers, and we have one server, which is this one, and that's a Lenovo SD530, and we're gonna have a good look at that one. And then there is a switch for the chassis here that we are also gonna be unboxing and putting into the chassis. So I don't think we wanna watch me unbox boxes this time, so I think we're just gonna be using some magic this time. So let's see, where did we put the magic? Okay, a little magic wasn't enough, still need some unwrapping. Okay, that worked. I am expecting that it becomes tedious to watch me unbox boxes, so we skip that. As said, this is an SD530, so let's have a look at that. This is the front of the server, and they have put in 3 fillers, metal thingies like that. But as you will normally always put in one server, they lift that one out because, well, without any servers in it, it's not gonna be very interesting. On top of that, we have, this is the network card for the unit. We're gonna be putting that in. And then we have one of the nodes, which is this one, which is the actual SD530. Let's put those away for just a second. Oh yeah, it comes with 2 power cables as well. Let's put that away and look at this chassis first. This is probably the most boring front chassis that I have ever seen. If we look over here, we have the fasteners to mount it in the rack. Then it says that it's a D2, and we have a serial number here. Otherwise it says ThinkSystem over here. Otherwise it's just 4 empty drawers. If we turn on the camera light though, we can see that in here, in the bottom of it, it has some beefy connectors down there. There are, okay, that's because we are watching the connector from the top one as well. So we can see that over here we have the power connector, and then we have a big beefy I/O connector there, and the rest of it is just meant for good airflow. So all of the front of the server here is where the servers pop in, 4 of them. And on only 2U, this is a very dense server, more or less a lot of computer power in not very much space. Like, you get 4 servers here. Even with the Flex Blade Center that I showed last time, we only had 14 servers on 10Us. With this server here, we can have 10Us and 20 servers. So that is actually 6 servers better than the Flex system. On the top we have this awesome drawing about how to do everything here. Let's start over here. We have something about the rack mounting, how to mount the chassis in the rack. It apparently slides out just like a regular server. It looks like the same system. It has these knobs here, so that is normal. Then we have something about putting in processors. That's in the individual, let's call these nodes, the SD530s, those. We have something about the power supply. We have something about the fan assembly here, which is a bit magic. The fans are right here, and they are actually hot swappable. Pull that back, and we can remove that cover. And then we have 2 big fans, and we have 3 smaller fans here in the middle. And well, at least these are hot swappable. I'm a little more curious about these. They don't have this orange thing on them, which usually means that they're not hot swappable. If they don't have the orange thing, well, usually they aren't. Yeah, there's a cable here that needs dismounting and stuff. So they did put orange tape on the cable. I wonder if that means that this is hot swappable as well. Okay, that could have been more clear. So that would be what this drawing is for. Note disconnecting. It says that all the fans are hot swappable, so that must be true. They say that we should disconnect this cable and pull it out before removing the fan. So there's a good information on top here. I would probably have done that wrong. Then back here we have something about installing a RAID adapter in the individual nodes. Awesome. We have something about the hot swappable hard drives in front. We're gonna get to that. Then we have something about this front panel that's on the nodes, and we're gonna have a look at that, and that says what the different stuff does there as well. Did I mention the power supplies? Hot swap power supplies, and rather big sizes of those. Let's go to the back and see the power supplies. So here is the back of the chassis. I have a tendency to try and call it a server. It's actually not a server, it's just the chassis. But there are some rather magical components back here that is gonna be very interesting. Let's start with the power supplies that we were looking at on the drawing on top. And these are very regular server power supplies, although these are 2000 watts. They come in a variety of sizes, and I believe they start at 1100 watts, and they are available in, let's see, do they go all the way? Here in the EU we use 220 to 240 volts. Power supplies bought in the US and other countries where they use 110 volts is also available. But they have greater difficulties reaching 2000 watts in a power supply that is only half the voltage. So yeah, these are kind of magic. These are expansion slots. Each of the servers has an expander card on the back here, and these are, well, they're not hot pluggable, but to replace one you only need to shut down the server which is going to be using this expansion card. So this could be a very good network card, it could be a little graphics card, it could be 100 gigabit network card, something that uses a lot of I/O. And these are PCI Express 3 and they're X16, and there is 75 watts is supplied to the socket. Otherwise, on the back each of the servers has an IMM, but instead of having 4 ports coming out of the back to the IMM, Lenovo has collected everything in this. How do one get that out? Oh, that one, okay. So you pull that and this comes out, and this is kind of an IMM switch. Well, it also does some management of the fans. They have put a tiny little SD card there. I wonder what that is. Probably shouldn't mess with that. But they call this the SMM. They say it right here. You can access the 4 IMMs in the servers through this card, and it has 2 ports. So from here you can connect a redundant solution, although this is a single point of failure in the server. But the SMM is actually also hot pluggable. So you can replace the SMM while all the 4 servers in front are running. So the back of the chassis here has a lot of common services for the 4 servers that are supposed to be in front of it, and that is, we are able to pop that out and have a better look at it. It releases with 2 levers back here, and those pop out and this comes out. Lenovo calls this the Shuttle. So here the Shuttle comes out, and some kind of release mechanism that we need to figure out. There are a couple of buttons on the bottom of it that needs to be released, and then it comes out. There. So with that gone, it really shows that the rest of this is just a piece of metal. So it really just is a chassis. Removing the shuttle, and this is just a box. So the shuttle from the back here is really the I/O part of the servers and the chassis, and we are supposed to put in a switch here, and that switch is going to be connected to these 2 connectors on the side here, and that will give the individual servers up front network access. So let's try and see how that works. So here is that switch that I unboxed as well, and as usual there's an explanation on the back of how to put that in. So I don't have to think here. I just have to read the drawing and maybe remove these plastic connectors before trying to pop those in, otherwise I'll look really stupid. On the back here it tells me which of these, well, this is 10 gigabit SFP pluses that are in here, and very important to note which node goes to which connection. So with that said, this is not a switch but a pass-through connector, as these two ports go to node 1, these two ports goes to node 2, node 3 and node 4. So let's pop that in and see how, let's do that. Put that in there. Interesting. There's another shuttle available for this chassis, which is a little bit more manual. This one is pretty awesome, that you can actually power one server down and replace the PCI Express cards here. The other one, you have to pull all of this out. So if you need to remove or change a card or add a card, you have to power down the 4 servers that are running there. And you only get X8 connections instead of these X16s. And this flap is just sitting there, so that you at any time can see which connectors are for which servers. So cool. And I need to remember to remove this plastic, otherwise I will look really stupid on film. This option is of course because with this method you can actually pick what kind of a network connection you want to go out. I do believe that RJ45 connectors are also available, and well, along the way something else might pop up. Well, they might at some point make a switch here and just have 2 100 gigabit connections going out. Who knows? So mounted, that was easy. I guess this one is left over. I need to ask what to do with that. On the back of the shuttle here we can see these beefy connectors. These are the I/O connectors, and this is the power connectors for each of the nodes up front. But now that we have installed the network pass-through, let's pop this back in and have a look at the server. So here is the server, and it's tiny. Just look at my hand here. It's well, 5 hands long or something like that. It has room for 6 hard drives here in front of the server, plus inside of it. Let's see the front first, shall we? On the front there is not room for much more than the hard drive. There's a release mechanism to take this node out of the chassis again. There is a power on button. I believe that's the power on. Oh, that's the power on button. And this is the ID button. And they're tiny. So there's a power on, there's an ID, and there's an exclamation mark. If something is wrong, that's the one that's going to be lighting up. Then there is a flipper here to pull out and have all of your important data sitting there, because there is so little space in front of the server here that you putting a label over that, well, it really removes a lot of the airflow of this server if you do that. So use the little flipper instead. It's irritating that you can't see what the name of the server is, but you might not need that if you just get the right amount of air through it. On top of it we get another little tiny label here with a drawing over the system board that we're going to be finding inside, with all of the numbers of what the different stuff is. There are some USB 3 and USB 2 connections, backplane power, M.2 connections. Ooh, M.2, we like those. CMOS battery and a lot of other good stuff. On this server there's not much on the back. There is those 2 beefy connectors, one for power and one for I/O. So now we can go inside. Okay, to open up there is a button here. So we press that and we pull back and this cover comes off. We lift that up. There is, oh, that's about the same drawing on the back, except no, this has something. This has the memory configuration written on it. It seems that we have 16 DIMMs in here. It's a little bit less than we are used to. Normally with these Intel scalable CPUs, each of the CPUs has 6 memory channels. So if we fill this up, I am guessing that we are not gonna be in balance. They wouldn't be able to do that, but they have written on the inside of the LED here what the order of putting in the memory blocks are. And they are for dual CPU and there is for single CPU. So I had to cheat and look at the documentation because I couldn't get this to add up in my head. Apparently a lot of the CPUs for these servers are too powerful for a small heatsink. So they put up this massive heatsink which sticks out over some of the slots here, this slot and that slot, for each of the two CPUs. They have marked these with a black memory DIMM slot here, as well, if the CPU is too powerful, you're not able to use that memory DIMM. And it's really not that big of a deal, because if you start using that memory DIMM, well, the memory speed will also be decreased because you are then using an unbalanced setup. Funny thing is that they have placed the CPU number 1 in the back of the server. That is usually always in front of the server. That must be something new. Each of the processors has 6 memory DIMMs. As standard, if you pick one of the smaller CPUs, it can have 8, but then you lose some memory speed. The server can use 128 GB memory blocks. So with just 6 memory DIMMs on each of the processors, you can actually get all the way up to 1.5 terabytes of RAM in this server. To use these black slots, you actually have to put in smaller block sizes, because 768 gigabytes is also the maximum memory amount for the CPUs with the small heat sinks. But if you're using 64 gigabyte blocks, well, you could take use of the last one as well. So that is really something that you should have a good look at before you decide what to do here. I would strongly recommend not to use the black slot here. You get the best performance if you just put in one block in each of the memory channels for the CPU. As it's very clear here, there is room for 2 CPUs in this server, and these are both the Intel scalable CPUs, the LGA 3674, which means that underneath this piece of plastic there is 3647 pins, and I usually just take it up just to see all those pins. Just the fact that each of those tiny little pins needs a good connection to the CPU to work properly, amazing. So let's hurry up and put this back before I bend any of them. Don't want to do that. So what else do we have in here? In the front here we have the back plane of the hard drives. As said, there is room for 6 hard drives up here, and that means that there are 2 cables going out of here. There is actually a third cable here, which looks like it might be for some AnyBay possibility on here. Would that be correct? But there are 2 tiny SAS connectors, smaller than usual, going from the back plane here and down to this RAID controller in the back of the server down here, and that we can pop out by pulling this lever, and it has a connector on the bottom as well. Looks like it takes the connection from the system board and puts it up to this. Not even sure it is a RAID controller. It's some kind of a controller. Says it's a hardware RAID card. We can see that on the system board there is connections available here, and over there is. Okay, this is of course just because this is a PCI Express card that is being put on top of the board. So they have put the PCI Express ports out into these connectors. So this RAID card is connected to the computer through this PCI Express port, through this cable here, and then there goes out 2 connectors from the card and up to the front where the back plane is. But up at the back plane there is also a connector also going down to a PCI Express port, and that must be for NVMe drives. So let's pop that back in before I forget. Did we need to see anything else down here? Yeah, we have 2 onboard SATA connectors there, but they look like to use the same connections as these SAS connectors coming out of there. So yeah, that could be really confusing really fast. So wonder how that works. So let's pop this down again. that tiny connector there. There is a label that tells me that that is for a dongle for the IMM. Weird. Never seen that before. Maybe this is for something future thing. Maybe it's on there, so I can't take it off. Okay, let's pop this back in. That was easy. There is a lot of more connections up here. There are those two Sata ports right there. We have another port here for the M.2 slot. So like any other Lenovo server, you can pop down their M.2 assembly here, and those are available with just one M.2 card or a redundant solution with two M.2 cards. So you can boot from those, and then you have 6 drives in the front of the server for your data, or maybe data and cache for a hybrid system or whatever your wishes might be. Then there's this piece of plastic in the middle of everything, just to prevent the air from going the wrong way. Awesome. Yeah, we have another dongle connection down here. That one says that it's a dongle for PCH. Interesting. Then we have a TCM connector there. Otherwise, we have a serial IMM connector there. We have another PCI Express. That's for, okay, they have numbers. This is PCI Express 4, this is PCI Express 3. So the two down here is 1 and 2. So one of these connectors goes up to the back plane for the M.2 drives. We have the CMOS battery here. We have the power connector for the back plane for the hard drives. Beefy connectors. I think that's about it. Yeah, CPU 1, CPU 2. This server is able to handle CPUs up to a TCP of 165 watts. That does include some of the CPUs with the very high core numbers, like the 28 core CPUs. So you can get 28 cores in this one and 28 cores in that one. So you will have a lovely 56 core system. And hyper threading on top of that, of course. It's a very nice little unit. Let's try and pop it in and see how well it fits. This is of course more or less a brand new server, so there is not much on it. Haven't installed any drives, any extra RAM. We forgot to see how much RAM this comes with, but it's usually 16 gigabytes. So there is a lever here, we pull that out and we pop that in and it's in there. So you can imagine that we would have one here, one there and one there as well. So we would have 4 of these servers or nodes in just 2U of rack space. And out the back we would have 4 or 8 10 gigabit connections for this server, plus some power and some management ports. Not a lot of connections actually. Now this node has the 6 drives. These are also available in other configurations where there is kind of a display and some management ports over here. But in this node they have chosen to make all of it available for hard drives or SSDs or whatever you want to place in front of the server here. So if you get the one with the management and the thingy, it's much like this connector, which is actually from the Datacenter. Well, you pop that in and you can manage your server. You can connect to a screen and some USB and some serial connections to that. Yeah, manage your server that way. But as soon as you have network connectivity on this box, well, you don't need to sit in the data center with your monitor and keyboard. You can just access and manage your servers through the network. So again, where would you use a system like this? This is for really high density computing. Like you need a lot of CPUs and you just need a lot of computing power. You might need some hard drives. You might also just not have any hard drives here at all. Just boot from some tiny little Linux distribution on the SSDs inside, and well, it might be part of a cloud or AI render farm. Well, big computer farm, supercomputer. Lenovo has sold a lot of these for supercomputers, and so they are widely used around the world. I would probably not recommend these for small business use, or if you just have 10 servers. It's when you have racks of servers, well, space becomes a problem. If you can fit in one rack, you don't need to go to this high density computing. Having a bit more space inside the server gives you some other possibilities. It gives you a better airflow, it gives you, well, better economy on the servers. But if space is a factor and you just need to cram in as many CPUs on as little space as possible, well, this is a very good way to go. I hope you enjoyed this overview of the Lenovo SD530 and the chassis for it, which is they call it the D2, with the shuttles and the switch and everything. I would highly recommend looking at Lenovo Press. Just go to, well, search for Lenovo Press and SD530, and there you will find a long list of all the options that are available for this server system, and that will probably help you determine if this is a system that will be helpful for your business. So yeah, thank you very much for watching my videos. Do subscribe to my channel so that you can see me again, and have a really nice day. Bye bye. Crap, I forgot to tell you that it comes with rails and a cable management arm and 2 pieces of manual that nobody reads anyway. So yeah, that too.